So let's do a quick review over the Mississippians as well as the exploration and colonization of Georgia. So remember the Mississippians, we talked about them earlier in the school year. So remember the Mississippians, they were the first Georgia Indian group that actually encountered the Europeans, such as Hernando de Soto, which I'll refresh your memory on later on. So remember the Mississippians were very religious people, and they built burial mounds where they would put their dead relatives and people in. They also grew their crops, which is how they ate. They also hunted animals. They fished and gathered nuts and berries. Most of their weapons were made out of stone and bone. So those weapons were used to hunt animals and fish, but as well as protect their civilization. Their society was organized in what is called a chiefdom society. So remember that word chiefdom. So remember a chiefdom society is basically like you have the chief, and then you have everybody else under the chief. So let's think about our school. Our chief would be the principal, and then the elites would probably be the eight assistant principals, and then the commoners would be the teachers, and then students, etc. And then but the Mississippians their population ended up declining because the Europeans, such as Hernando de Soto, was bringing diseases from Europe, such as smallpox and things of that nature, which ended up wiping out their population. But they were also murdering them. So remember Hernando de Soto. Remember, I always say he's the bad explorer. He was the first European explorer to actually set foot in Georgia. And I remember he did not start Georgia or found it. He just stepped foot over here. But he bought all those diseases with him from Europe, and which ended up killing the Mississippians and the Indians in America at the time. He also was the one that was murdering them as well. Now, Hernando de Soto's main mission was he wanted to find gold, and he was in search for that gold, which he never did find it. Now, this picture over here, remember there were three countries that were competing to colonize as many countries around the world as possible: France, Britain, and Spain. So remember the three reasons for exploration were God, gold, and glory. So God, they all wanted to spread their religion to other parts of the world. The gold, they wanted riches, remember? And then glory, they all wanted to acquire or get as much land as possible. So all of them had economic interest in acquiring new land. Now remember the Spanish mission? Remember the Spanish mission, the Spanish were on the mission to convert as many Indians to Catholicism as possible. So they set up their first little settlement on the Barrier Islands. So remember this man over here, James Oglethorpe? We call him the founder of Georgia. So remember, James Oglethorpe was one of the trustees that helped find and start the colony of Georgia. Remember, he wanted to find a colony of Georgia because he had a friend that died in debtor's prison, and he wanted a place where the worthy poor could come to start a new life. So remember, this man here, King James II, he gave James Oglethorpe, this man here, the Charter of 1732. Remember, the Charter of 1732 basically outlined why Georgia was founded. So it was founded for three reasons: philanthropy, which is a fancy word for charity, economics, and defense. So remember, the philanthropy part of the charter was, again, James Oglethorpe wanted a place for the poor and the people in debtors' prison could come to get a fresh start. The economics reason Georgia was founded was they wanted to grow crops here to send back to Great Britain. And then the defense part was Georgia was, remember, a buffer colony to protect South Carolina from the Spanish in Florida. So when James Oglethorpe got here, he had to, of course, start building towns and whatnot. So remember, he came to what it was then Yamacraw Bluff, and Tamachichi was a Yamacraw Indian chief. And this woman here, Mary Musgrove, served as a translator between Tamachichi and James Oglethorpe because neither one of them spoke the language of the other. So she helped them mediate and translate to come up with a peaceful agreement. And because of that peaceful agreement, we now have Savannah, which is down here, a sketch of it. So to end this off, so remember during this time in colonial history, there were 5 crops that were grown during this time or intended to be grown. So remember risk, wine, rice, indigo, silk, tobacco. So also during this time, we have the trustee period and the royal period. So remember trustee period, this is when James Oglethorpe and the founding of Georgia was coming. So remember, every settler had to plant a mulberry tree for silkworms. Remember, during the trustee Georgia, they were ruled by trustees. Remember, trustees are like administrators at a school. They also, during the trustee period, they banned slavery, they banned alcohol, and remember, you could only sell your land to your heirs, like your son or whoever. But this era of Georgia's history, was unsuccessful. Besides helping defend Spain or defend South Carolina from the Spanish. Now, because trustee period failed, they want to try something different. So they tried. So then Georgia became a royal colony. And in royal Georgia, basically everything you couldn't do in trustee Georgia, you could now do in royal Georgia. So now instead of being ruled by trustees, remember royal Georgia was ruled by governors, what we still have today. They also were allowed to own slaves. They could drink and sell alcohol. They can sell their own land to whomever they wanted to. And this area in Georgia history was way more prosperous.